right? So think of the games that you grew up with that you love so much, one of the reasons why you're here, right? Have you ever thought about, the story behind who made that game, the people that were involved, what their roles were? Have you ever thought about how it was created, how it was coded, what kind of technical hurdles they had to overcome? Have you ever thought about, the original source code for that game, where it is, would it function today, right? How would we be able to preserve that? Could I see it, right? If you thought about any of these questions, I think you're probably going to dig right into this question I have for next week's Weekly Ringer. So PAX East was very much, in terms of the retro games, very much about preserving and archiving the video games of the past. Whether it be for museums, private collections, whatever the case might be. The point is, if you look back to some of the original games, original source code, original art, think about all the things that get created for a game. Well, most of the time, we know exactly where they go. The trash can. If it doesn't make the game, or even sometimes if it does, the originals get trashed, they don't get archived, and someone that grew up with or grows up with that game 20 years hence would probably pay a pretty penny to see that stuff, right? Or even maybe own a part of history that went into the game that they made. One of the funny stories, or not funny, it was actually pretty scary stories. There were some funny stories told too, but Konami actually experienced a natural disaster in terms of an earthquake many, many years ago that hit Japan, and it actually set part of their building on fire, and they lost almost all of the original art assets for the original Castlevania. They no longer exist. That's pretty sad, right? Now, if anybody ever wanted to go see those things and they wanted to take a look at them, or if Konami ever wanted to sell them or donate them to a museum, they're gone now. Or if Konami ever wanted to go recreate the game from the actual original source code, they can't do it. They have to now go to a ROM of a game that they released, rip it, and reverse engineer it. So it becomes kind of an interesting problem. So you guys see how important it can be to preserve something for future generations to enjoy. Would you want your kids to experience Super Mario Brothers, the original for NES, on an NES with that, very pristine kind of condition, the way that the game was intended to be played, not through an emulator, not through virtual console, but the actual game on the actual apparatus it was created for? Wouldn't you want to see that? Maybe, maybe not. In any case, with that being a prevailing theme at PAX East, I wanted to ask you guys about it. And so the question for next week's Weekly Ringer is this: what importance do you place on video game preservation, archiving, conservation, so that future generations can enjoy it, right? That is to say, do you guys find it important that things like original source code exist, even for games that aren't very good, right? Think of a game that you absolutely hated. Would you not want to, would you want to see it? Would you want to see the original source code? Would you want to buy it? Would you want to know who owns that IP and maybe be able to talk to them and find out the stories behind those things? What importance do you put on video game preservation for future generations? That's the question for next week's Weekly Ringer. Anyway, so that's that's what I've got for today, folks. We're definitely going to be, I'm going to be trying to pay closer attention now that I'm recovered from PAX to being able to release the videos on time and where they need to be. You guys do know that it is, the idea of the Weekly Ringer has always been kind of, to do it hopefully every week. And luckily, or unfortunately, with my schedule, things have not been kind of lending itself to that kind of an accomplishment for the goal recently. But anyway, I think you guys will be happy with the schedule that I've got coming up. I think it'll be a lot better. Hopefully, I'll be able to make videos in a lot better fashion. So, with that, I will say thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being a part of the community here at Clan of the Grey Wolf. I am the Commodore from the Clan of the Grey Wolf, and there is no reset button.